Welcome, everybody, to podcast number 243. Why are you obligated to be rich? Stay with us.
This is the Elevate Construction Podcast, delivering remarkable content for workers, leaders, and companies in construction wanting to take their next step. Get ready to step out of your comfort zone with Jason Schroeder as he encourages you to do better, live a remarkable life, and expect more. Let's go.
Well, welcome, everybody. You've probably heard me talk about this subject before, but this is a Build a Little Better podcast. And we're just inviting you to do something just a little bit better. So every time we do one of these 7, 8, 15-minute podcasts, we're just going to concentrate on one little topic. So I'm going to publish one tonight, and meaning this podcast tonight, and I'll also record the one for the next day. It'll be a full podcast. You're going to love the content. We're going to be talking about Scrum in the podcast tomorrow morning, or whenever the next one after this. Anyway, so this subject's been on my mind. I'm going to say it again. You are obligated to be rich. That's how I look at it. That's my opinion. I'm attempting to be humble on this and just open. You're on my podcast. I'm giving you my opinions. Please take it for what it's worth. But I just want to be clear about the fact that, there are people out there that feel like rich people are evil. Success is evil. Money is evil. You should spend all the money you make. Use debt for spending. Just go ahead and borrow the money. That's just the way things are. They don't think about long-term planning. They work by budgets instead of a future financial plan, right? Things happen to them. They're victims. They refuse to study and learn about money, right? They blame other people. They focus on the past. They think about problems. They waste time. They only have single sources of income. They work paycheck to paycheck. I heard a commercial. Gosh, where was I when I heard this? Anyway, maybe it was on YouTube, but it talked about a 2-day check advance. And you see these check cashing stores all over the place, right on street corners and intersections, where people will go in there and they'll leverage something to get a cash advance on a paycheck. We're talking like a matter of hours or a day or 2 days on the check here, or maybe even a week. If we don't have enough money saved up to where we have to do a 2-day check cash advance, we have some major problems that I mean, just as a society. I mean, that means we're living check to check, right? And so people are income driven and work driven and paycheck driven, and they work from week to week. Now, so check this out. This is all wrong. Rich people, and I'm saying you're obligated to be rich. Rich people feel like success and being rich is an obligation. Rich people invest money. Rich people use debt for investments, right? They think they think in terms of multiplying. They have financial plans. They expand things. They make things happen. They read and study. They leverage the wisdom of the people around them. They get mentors. They're responsible. They focus on the future. They think of solutions. They buy time and they don't trade money for time. They have multiple flows of income. They're net worth driven. They pay themselves first and they accomplish their goals. So being rich, and the meat of this podcast isn't this little graphic. I've read this to you probably 5 times. I even searched a different one this time to see if I could not bore you with it. But I want to be clear about some things here. So we were programmed in public school, and as we're growing up, most of us, to just go with the flow and be on the conveyor belt. We were taught certain things that are going to keep us poor the rest of our lives. And one of those main things is that money is bad, or that we should hate rich people. So in the scriptures, and I've said this on 2 or 3 other podcasts, money is not evil. It's the love or the covetousness of money that is evil. If you are gaining wealth to set up your children, to start a business, to change the world, to give, that is not evil. In fact, I'm going to say, you've officially heard it here, that you are obligated to be rich in a good way. Now, coveting your own money and being selfish, no, right? So I even grew up with this. I grew up with this big time. Rich people are evil. And I used to even say, I won't even go into rich neighborhoods. They're so snooty and snobby and I don't even like them, right? That's me being jealous. Any of us that are doing that, we're being jealous. And they're good and bad and selfish and unselfish, rich people and poor people alike. There's nothing inherently evil with being rich and having money. So here are a couple of thoughts from me on this. So I have to deal, or no, let me say it like this. I get to deal with a lot of welfare cases. And most of the time it's the same. You'll usually find, and I'm not being negative about it, I'm just saying this is a fact. Most of the time, it's this pattern. There's 1 or 2 out of 10 that legitimately need help every now and then. And that's where welfare assistance or money or help from family, from government, from church, from others, and from other sources and programs and religious and charitable organizations are appropriate. 8 out of 10 people have a victim mindset. And in fact, let me just tell you a little bit of a story here. So I was once talking about to a person about welfare. And I was talking to him about his budget, and the first thing he said to me was, I just lost my job. I couldn't, I couldn't get along with my boss. My boss was out to get me. So, I just had to quit and I had to leave. And in our home, we can barely afford rent. I need help with rent. But I invited 2 or 3 friends over to live at my place rent free. I need to feed them. The other day, we just got and some animals and some gates and some fences. We bought some material to put some of those things in the backyard, but I can't make ends meet. My boss was mean to me. I'm a victim of circumstance. I can't. So I go through and talk about how, okay, well, here's how we can make a plan. First of all, there's the Arizona 211 hotline, right? There are resources. There are food shelters, there are food banks, there are homeless shelters, there are hotlines, there are all these things that we can do. The other thing is you and the other 2 males in the home need to go get work right away, okay? So, we need to make a plan right here. With the welfare assistance that I can help you with, speaking in that example, just generally, it can be temporary, but you need to have a plan. And so the argument was, well, I can't work because my bosses are always mean. And I was like, okay, well, then we can get you through some employment services. Or maybe some other people in the house can go to work. Or maybe we can look at benefits from other people from the government within the house. And maybe the other people you invited to your home, maybe they need to take care of their own. So everything I started saying, excuse. I can't. So what ended up happening was I was like, I love you. I can't help. If you're not going to help yourself, if we're not heading in a good direction, any amount of money is going to hurt you. And let me pause on the story for just a minute. So I want to say this. So for poor-minded people, there isn't any amount of money that wouldn't eventually get lost in a short amount of time, be spent or be lost with the wrong mindset. You think about the Rockefellers versus the Vanderbilts, right? The Rockefellers kept their wealth within the family. They had financial advisors. They had trusts. They had systems set up in place to keep that family wealth. The Vanderbilts did not. They built all these huge, big mansions out in Southern California, lost them years later, and all of the money was gone, right? So they had poor minds. They spent all their money. They didn't invest. They didn't give. They didn't help others. Yet the Rockefellers, on the other end, give millions and millions and millions of dollars every year to charitable organizations, right? So here's my point. When somebody says, oh, money will fix this, no. Mindset will fix this. Not money, mindset. If you have a bad mindset, there's no amount of money that will fix anything. And even if a rich person with a rich mindset loses money, they will make it back because it all comes down to mindset. So I'm talking to let's back to the story. So I'm talking to this person and saying, I want to help. There are resources to help. I can't help until you start to put first things first, until you get back to work, until you start saving for a rainy day, until you start to get a mindset where you're contributing again, until you keep a proper budget of income versus expenditures, until you take care of your family before others, until you stop taking care of animals, until you can put food on the table for your own family, until. And so The point was, hey, I could give you $5,000 and it'll be gone in 2 days with the mindset that you have. So we left. I wasn't able to help. His aunt calls me. So his aunt calls me and is like, the first thing she says, you know what? Like, you need to help him. That's what's supposed to be happening. You need to do this. And then she says this. She says, the rest of us didn't grow up rich like you did. We didn't grow up having everything handed to us like you did early on. We grew up poor and we've been struggling ever since. And so pause on that moment. Not only was I a little bit immature when I heard this, I didn't respond. I was so super nice and Christ-like about it. But like that moment right there, that is one of the problems. Everybody thinks if somebody has money, like I've got a little boat, I've got a nice little house, I got 11 kids, I own a business, like I take care of my stuff, right? I'm not rich yet. I will be, and when I get rich, I'm going to donate like crazy to all of these charitable organizations and help people out and help my kids start businesses, right? But people will even look in my modest middle class situation and they'll be like, oh yeah, you were given all that. I wasn't given all that. I wasn't given any of this. In fact, when I was younger, because I was raised with a little bit of a poor mindset, I got into, with Katie, a lot of debt. And we got into debt. We got into debt to the tune of about $80,000 without college student loans. And I had to debt stack and use thrift stores and drive old cars and work all the time. And I had to work my way out of it through the right mindset. And so I didn't get here because daddy gave me $1 million or daddy gave me $100,000. That didn't happen. Sure, there have been people that have helped us along the way, but there are people that will help anyone along the way as long as they have the right mindset. My point is this: that mindset of somebody gave that to you, you didn't earn it, is exactly what's keeping people in their victim mindset. So again, I can't. This is what happened to me. They did this. I can't control it. I spent all the money. I have another family living in the house. I spent the money on animals. So there are all of these poor mindset type situations, right? We cannot get into that. And if you're like, Jason, I'm not that person. I'm in construction. I have, everything I need to build a good retirement. Now, you still have blocks in your mind that are holding you back. It could be around retirement. It could be around financial investments. It could be around investing. It could be around, whole life insurance. Like whatever it is, do you have a financial advisor and do you have a financial plan? If not, you're probably still being held back by some of these poor mindsets, right? It's not, in my mind, enough to just go make a living and do whatever. I think we're all obligated to invest a little bit, to leave a legacy, to set up our family, to build wealth within the family, and to give responsibly to these charitable organizations. So, one notable thing that holds people back is they think that they can't do a side business or a side hustle or start a business or do some of these investments. And you can. And if you have a very nice situation, if you have a really good job and you're planning to work till you're 80 and then retire with a ton of money, I absolutely love it. But have you considered some of the other things that you're able to do to build wealth because it's possible, which in some cases takes a little bit of risk? So let me just talk really quickly about this. Why is it an obligation? The reason it's an obligation is because we can't give wisdom from an empty mind. We can't give food from an empty pantry. We can't give time from a busy schedule. We can't give money from an empty bank account. And I'm telling you, when I see superintendents or PMs or people in anybody that I'm coaching, I can coach anybody in this industry, right? When I see them struggling, almost inevitably, every time it comes down to they're not giving. And they're not giving because they live in a scarcity mindset and they don't have anything to give. If you really want to get remarkable in your personal performance and your personal happiness, my advice to you would be to get a vision of how you want to give. Get a vision for the organizations you want to donate to. Get a vision for the people that you want to help. Get a vision for the legacy that you want to leave your family. And go start committing now, today, to give to those organizations immediately, and to allocate a certain portion of that, then allocate a certain percentage of that into secure investments, then allocate another percentage of your income, maybe 5 to 7% on high risk investments, and plan for your future. And maybe even have some cash flow insurance with a whole life insurance policy. Make sure that you have tax planning for your business and for your personal family. Make sure that you're leveraging all of these things so that you can give the most to other people. I think it would be so sad if we just ended up being like, yeah, I made enough income to take care of myself. Why not do it wisely enough with financial advisors and a good plan and a plan to give, to where we're able to give to our families and to other people? That's why I think it's an obligation, and it all comes down to a mindset. And so we need to give. We need to have creative endeavors. We need to leverage our full potential. We need to utilize our talents, and we need to enjoy life. One of my favorite sayings, and I'll say it again, when people say, money doesn't buy happiness, I'm saying, you're shopping at the wrong stores. I can take money and buy happiness. I, Jason William Schroeder, can take a large amount of money and I can go buy happiness. Let me prove it to you. When I'm able to help fund, even if it's in part, a new building for St. Jude's Children's Hospital, when I see the outcomes of that, of those little kids getting cancer treatment, that will make me happy. It will be impossible. It will be a physical, intellectual, spiritual impossibility. Hear me, people. It will be a spiritual impossibility. Meaning it's not possible. It will not be possible for me to be unhappy in that moment. It will not be possible for me to be unhappy knowing that I helped a bunch of those kids. When I give a ton of money and start these boot camps, and I'm not bragging, I'm saying I want everybody to start doing stuff like this. When I start giving a ton of money to foster kids, especially the older ones as they're aging out, and get them placed in construction jobs and take them through life training, and we're out there in camps and they have placement, and these little kids, these little foster kids without parents getting placed into new homes, they got their new little backpacks and these welcome letters and all of those things. It is a physical impossibility for me to witness that moment and not be happy. How many times can you go do something in life and have a guarantee of happy? Meaning if I do A, I will get B, or A plus B equals C. I don't know of anything that is a guarantee to make me happy more so than some of the things I'm telling you right now. And I get to do those with money. I get to do those with time. I get to do those with wisdom. I get to do those with investments. I get to do those because of the resources that I've built up. So that's what I'm talking about. People that say that money won't buy happiness are not shopping in the right stores. Because if I'm able to see my little grandbabies and great grandbabies taken care of and out having fun with their families instead of struggling so long like Katie and I did with the kids early on. Reno's 17. He's had a couple of real fun years with our family at the end here, but early on we didn't have a lot of money to do anything. I am going to smile when I see that our kids and grandkids and great grandkids are set up. I'm going to weep when I see whatever donations we're able to donate to St. Jude's, helping little kids going through cancer treatment. I am going to shed tears with my family thinking about organizations like Operation Underground Railroad, where kids are being rescued from child enslavement and sex slavery. I am going to rejoice with foster care kids that are going through these programs. Money can buy happiness. Money can, I want to say it again, money can buy happiness. We are obligated to amass as much of this as we can so that we can give it away to help, to lift people up, to give them an outstretched hands. I'm not telling you this on a podcast to get more podcast views. I'm not saying that for that reason. I'm saying when people say, Jason, the coach Jason, what can I do in life to really take it to the next level? My answer is have a plan for giving, which means you have to have a plan for amassing wealth by adding a massive amount of value, and it all ties together. You are obligated to be rich. On we go.
Please join us next time in elevating the entire construction experience for workers, leaders, and companies coast to coast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to share with your construction colleagues. And help us spread the word by rating, subscribing, and leaving a review on your preferred podcast listening platform. We really appreciate it. We'll catch you next time on the Elevate Construction Podcast.